Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to your Rangers review post-match reaction video after Rangers' 3-1 defeat after extra time to Celtic in the League Cup semi-final at Hampden. It was a match without controversy, and we're going to delve into all that occurred at the National Stadium this afternoon. Jonny McFarlane joins me. How goes it, Jonny?
Yeah, certainly plenty to talk about. If the last Old Firm game was a truly terrible, dull affair when there was very little to chew over, this one was quite the opposite, Derek.
Yeah.
And there's so much to go into detail of. I'm not sure if 30 minutes is going to be enough, but I'll try and be succinct as I can be and get through as much as we can, because there is going to be so much to get our teeth into.
Yeah, and if you want to get your points over, folks, please do remember you need to be a subscriber to the channel. Feel free to get your points across. Anything you want to get off your chest, please do, and we'll get to as many comments as we possibly can. Just if you missed the game, folks, Rangers started like a rabbit in the headlights in the first half. They were so far off it. It was unreal. Celtic had a goal disallowed after a bit of a calamity in the Rangers backline. Nasser Giga hitting the ball off Nico Raskin that went back into the back of the net. Fortunately, it was ruled out by VAR for an offside call just moments earlier, but Celtic did get their noses in front shortly after, and you've got to say it was deserved. A corner, Rangers not picking up their man, Johnny Kenny rising to bullet a header past Jack Butland after 25 minutes. At that point, you're thinking, Celtic were well in command, and you're concerned about what might unfold. Yusuf Chermiti had a couple of opportunities that he flaffed, and then things went from bad to worse for Rangers in the first half when Tello Asgard was shown a straight red for a high boot onto the thigh of Anthony Ralston. Nick Ball straight over with a red card, and he was dismissed. Rangers down to 10. The second half, though, Danny Rule made an alteration, took Danilo off, which was a big call, you've got to say. Brought on Jedi Gassama, and Rangers gave it absolutely everything in that second half, full of grit, fight, everything that was lacking in that first half, and they got their just rewards late on with 9 minutes of the game remaining. Nick Walsh pointing to the spot for a handball from Anthony Ralston, who was already on a yellow. I'm sure we'll get to the big refereeing talking points. Big question marks over why he was not given a second yellow for that. But Tav stepped up, a cool penalty, fired it into the bottom corner. Kasper Schmeichel guessed the right way, but just couldn't get to it. But then Rangers certainly felt that the momentum was with them. But then at the end, Celtic were really pushing for that winning goal, and they looked burst, the Rangers team. And no surprise, really, they had given it that they're all into the extra time. Callum McGregor unleashes a thunderbolt from the edge of the area, right down the middle of the Rangers goal. Perhaps Jack Butland, who produced a number of top saves today, suspect there. We'll get into that in more detail. And then the second half of extra time, Callum Osmond, the teenager, got on the end of a Kieran Tierney ball into the penalty area to make sure of their progression to the final. Also, missed a big point just at the end of the first half, of course. Austin Trusty going in on Jack Butland, catching him with his boot on Jack Butland's face. And for me, that should have been a red card for him as well. In all honesty, Celtic should have been down to 9 men. But where shall we start, Jonny? First of all, the first half from Rangers. For me, nowhere near good enough.
Yeah, really, really poor in the first half. Rangers weren't up for the fight. And it was ultimately Celtic who dictated the tempo of the game, who had the aggression. That said, Derek, 3 magnificent chances, 2 falling to Chermiti. You have to say the first one, it's a brilliant ball in. Chermiti is through one-on-one with the keeper. He sees the whites of Schmeichel's eyes, and he doesn't even hit the target from about 5 yards out. Really, really poor. And again, Chermiti at the back post with, I think, the third of the chances. Again, very close to goal. Doesn't even really get anything on it. It just looks half-hearted. It looks like a player that's lacking confidence. And so while Rangers were really poor in that first half, I mean, you very rarely see a team that pulls out of the bag 3 potentially match-winning moments when they're not functioning, but they were able to do that. And for me, that just underlines the paucity of quality that Celtic have. Celtic aren't a good team, and Celtic were there for the taking. And, ultimately, Derek, and I think this is the core thing, we're going to talk about refereeing decisions quite a bit today. There's a lot to talk about on that front. But ultimately, I think the big lesson of today is if you don't get your recruitment right, if you don't buy good enough players, then you're always going to struggle. And I look at guys that have come in the summer, Rothwell, Aarons, Giga, Chermiti. I don't see Rangers players amongst them, and especially Chermiti. So, to me, Danny Rowell deserves a hell of a lot of credit for putting together a performance like that, especially in the second half, with the tools that he had at his disposal. One guy I also thought was very good and deserves a mention is James Tavernier, who I thought was outstanding today. He was pulled all over the pitch. He was playing in midfield. Tavernier was a guy that can walk out of that ground tonight with his head held high. But there's so many that just don't look up to it. And, you've got to put this showing in context of how poor Celtic are. This is a team that have got Callum Osmond up front, a 19-year-old signed from Fulham's B team. John Kenny, a guy who's just been nowhere near the first team, hasn't really set the heather alight on loan. James Forrest has come in there, 34, 35-year-old, expecting him to turn the game. This is a weak Celtic with some of their biggest players, if you think about people like Cameron Carter-Vickers and Jota, unavailable. And yet, I think over the course of the game, if you take out the refereeing issues, they still had 19 shots to Rangers 10. So I think you have to look at the recruitment. You have to look at £35 million spent in the summer with a 20 million net overall spend, and just say that this is nowhere near good enough for Rangers. Nowhere near good enough in terms of the quality of the player on that pitch. And I feel for Danny Rowell because I'm seeing really positive signs from him. I don't know if you agree, Derek, but we're seeing a manager there who I think has shown real maturity in the way he's handled the game. Second half, 10 men to control the game like they did, to go after Celtic the way they did, to press the way they did, given that the really short amount of time he's actually been in the building. It's such a stark contrast to the heartless Russell Martin era that you have to really give him some kudos from today, and despite the defeat. But he can only pee with the appendage that he has. And unfortunately, on that front, Rangers have really let him down. Big money needs to be spent in January, Derek, because this team is not where it needs to be. Yeah,
I was going to say he can only work with the tools he's got, but you put it better than I did. I did there. Listen, just on the forward line and defensively is where Rangers need to improve in January. It's clear for all to see. There's only so much Danny Rowell can do. Incidentally, I would like to have seen the heart and commitment shown in the second half from the off. I don't know why Rangers were so passive in that first half. On Chermiti, we've spoke at length about this lad. He shouldn't be leading the line for Rangers. For me, I don't see anything there at this point in time.
He's not ready, Derek. He's miles off.
I know.
And I like to think of myself as reasonably patient with players, reasonably understanding that for a guy in his early 20s coming to a new culture, there's going to be a period of adjustment. I just don't see any element to why Rangers would spend this kind of money on him, other than he's physically imposing. He's a large guy. But I don't see him ever using that physicality to win duels or to knock centre-halves around. I really think it's going to be a poor signing.
If he was on loan, we'd all be saying send him back in January, I think.
Absolutely.
So that's where we are with Yusuf Chermiti. For me, an almighty amount of money squandered on him, but I think it could have been better spent elsewhere. And Rangers, for me, very poor in the forward areas, and that needs addressed in January. There's no doubt about it. He wasn't the only one to miss chances today. I thought Jedi Gassama, to be fair, Scales did well to get back in that. Was the second half late on, but his opportunity in extra time, he has to score that. He does well initially to show anticipation, great pace to get in behind. One-on-one with the goalkeeper, you've got to score. He should have done better with that one for me. Just trying to think if there's anyone else guilty of a real missing, a real chance for Rangers.
I was just thinking that there was 3 chances in the first half, Derek. 2 fell to Chermiti. Who was the other one? There was another one that...
let us know in the comments, folks. There was so much that went on that game. I've lost track of what exactly went on. William with a point here. How I would love a boy like this. And I know he phoned it in at times, but he says, for his size and price, I'm expecting a Daniel Kuzan type. I would long for a Daniel Kuzan in his prime against Celtic. He's certainly someone that knew how to ragdoll a Celtic defence. And that's exactly what Rangers require. And I don't see any of his characteristics in...
It was Raskin was the other one. People are telling us in the comments. Raskin was put through one-on-one. Danilo with a wonderful bit of skill.
Yes.
Turned them inside out with that pass, and then Raskin went through. So, there were certainly opportunities there, Derek.
Yeah, there certainly was. Right, so one of the big flashpoints in that first half, we'll touch on it. There's a Tello Asgard sending off. Prior to that red, Johnny, he was having another sort of Tello Asgard sort of game where he wasn't doing very much. If I had to choose one person to get a sending off, I think it would have been him. Need more from him up to that point. Any complaints about the red card?
No, it's a red card. I would caveat that by saying he definitely doesn't intend to connect.
No.
He definitely pulls out, and it's not as bad as it could have been. But unfortunately, when you go in like that, when you put your studs up like that, in modern football, there's no debate. As you can see with every single pundit saying it's a red card, it is a red card. And for Rangers fans out there, they know that if that was a Celtic player doing that to one of their players, they would absolutely be screaming blue murder about it being a red card. It was a red card. I feel for Asgard. I don't think he had a good game. He's a guy that disappears down a trapdoor. Yeah. I'm not sure he's going to make it at this club. I'm not sure he's got the mentality to make it at this club. He's a skillful player with quality, but he doesn't show it enough. And that said, though, I feel a little sorry for him. I feel a little sorry for him in the moment because I think it was a really unfortunate confluence of circumstances. I don't think there was any intention whatsoever, but the rules are the rules and intention is irrelevant. So to me, Derek, I don't know what you think.
Well, yeah.
I just don't think it's going to be, it's always going to be a red. I don't think you can create a reasonable argument.
There's no intent there, but in the modern game, it's a red. My issue is Neil Lennon at half-time saying you need to pull out. When I was growing up playing football, you were told if you pull out, you'll risk getting injured. But now we're being told in the modern game, you need to pull out. So that's where I stand on it. I don't like it, but I get it's almost non-contact now, the game. So when you go in high like that, look at Kamar Roof a good few seasons ago, went in on the goalkeeper.
It's a similar situation.
Yeah, but it didn't mean it. But that's where we are. And that leads us on then to the Austin Trusty incident at the tail end of the game. And for me, if Tello goes, Austin Trusty needs to go. Now, he did go to VER. Nick Walsh, very quick decision. He showed a yellow card to Austin Trusty. And they made their minds up pretty sharpish in the VER booth that it was as far as it should have went with regards to a punishment. Pundits at half-time all said that Austin Trusty was a lucky boy to stay on the park. Everyone except Michael Stewart, I think. Shock horror there, but should have went. Johnny, do you agree with that? Why is he striking the face of Jack Butland? We've got an image as well.
Yeah, so I think there's 2 images that we need to put up, Derek. So the first one is, and I think this is really important, that if Trusty is trying to win the ball and the ball's loose, I think it's slightly different to what eventually happened. So if you put up the first image, which is showing, that's the second image. The first image is proving that Jack Butland has the ball under control. So you can see Jack Butland has the ball in his arms at this point.
Yeah.
Austin Trusty has his right foot planted. So at this point, before we move it on, the ball is dead. Okay. What happens after this is Trusty continues and then swings that right foot, the one that's planted there, at the goalkeeper, and you get to this situation where he makes contact with Jack Butland's head. So here's the thing. This, to me, is a classic example of what you would factor under violent conduct.
Yeah.
So violent conduct is this is direct from the rules, by the way. It's when a player uses or attempts to use excessive force or brutality against an opponent when not challenging for the ball, or against a teammate, team official, match official, blah, 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 blah. It's regardless of whether contact is made, right? In addition, and this is the important part here, a player who, when not challenging for the ball, and remember, the ball's under control, so he can't be challenging for the ball. The goalie's got two hands on the ball. Deliberately strikes an opponent or any other person on the head or face is guilty of violent conduct unless the force used was negligible. So the SFA, in terms of the rules, the only get out they have on this one is, are they saying this is negligible? Now, my argument back to that would be, how can a boot to the head ever be judged as negligible?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I think that's a really sticky wicket to be arguing, because how can you judge how much impact there is there from Trusty's foot onto Butland's head to say it's negligible? I think negligible would be something like a push or a slap that misses or something like that. The point being here, Derek, is it's going to be fascinating to see. I suspect Rangers will be vociferous in going after this. It's another huge moment in an Old Firm game that's gone against them on account of a refereeing what Rangers will definitely class as an error. Again, you look at the pundits. If we're talking about trying to get a gauge of how much overall agreement there is or disagreement with the decision, was it everyone on that studio said it should have been a red card, or was it extremely lucky that it was just a yellow?
Lucky to still be in the park, yeah.
Yeah, that's every single one of them. Even Neil Lennon saying, while he didn't think it was a red card, he thought he was extremely lucky, and it was ridiculous that he did what he did.
Yeah.
And the other element to this, and this is just, I always say it, Derek, and you hear pundits talking about it as well. Watch the player's reaction, because the player's reaction in the spur of the moment, it tells you everything you need to know 9 times out of 10. And the minute Trusty does it, he freaks out and into action and starts gesturing that he didn't mean it with his hands. And he goes over to Butland very, very quickly, and he's holding his hand up, and he realizes, what have I just done? I've had a complete moment of madness here, because there was no reason to have his foot anywhere near Butland's head. So there's just no way around it. This story's going to run and run. I guarantee you this. There is no chance that Rangers will let this slide, and it's going to be a fascinating one. It's going to be a fascinating one to see how it pans out, because I suspect Willie Collum will have to accept this is an error, and we're going to hear the discussion on it, and we're going to chalk it up to another one of these. So I don't know what your position on it is.
Well, it's all right you saying that the club will go hard on him. I was expecting the club to go hard last season on the Václav Černý incident, and there was a complaint from many that they didn't go far enough when they issued a statement on what they felt was the wrongdoing, which clearly was. I'm probably sick and tired of Willie Collum coming out on his show that he records on Sky to explain refereeing incidents that they got wrong. I very much expect him to come out and say, from now on, that'll be a red card. What good does that do Rangers now? As I mentioned earlier, I think the decision in the VR booth, incidentally, which was manned by Stephen McLean and Andrew Dallas, I felt it was a bit hurried. The decision, I don't think they took long enough to look at it. And quite rightly, what you point out there, you look at the reaction of the players. That tells you all you need to know about the severity of the incident. He should have walked for me. It's a case, I think, Rangers been refereed to one standard and Celtic to another on that front. So they should be rightfully aggrieved at that one. And it will be interesting to see, incidentally, what Danny Rule has to say on that. I know that James Tavernier has been speaking. Blair has been down in the mix zone speaking to him. Hopefully, we'll have a clip to play at some point.
Yeah, I'm going to just clip that up just while you're talking, Derek, and get that saved onto this computer so we can hear it, because I think he's basically backed up what I've just said there, which is that the SFA position on it is that there wasn't enough force for it to be a red card. It was negligible force. So that's obviously the get out in terms of the rules.
That's fine if it's, say, your ankle or your shin. We're talking about a guy's face here. Surely that's properly endangering an opponent. So
yeah,
I
totally agree, and I think most fair-minded people would agree on that as well. That you know, when you're talking about firing a boot towards someone's head, even if there isn't a lot of force in it, it's a situation that could quickly turn or be painful or be dangerous. So it's going to be fascinating. Like I say, I'll upload the Tavernier in so we can get a sense of it and quickly just kind of have it on.
Yeah, right. The second half, incidentally, while you carry that on, I mean, as I mentioned, Danilo removed. I was surprised at that, to be honest. I think if I was making a sub, I'd be taking Chermiti off, but there you go. On came Gassama, provided Rangers did well when he came on, apart from, as I mentioned, more so that the extra time opportunity when he really should score. But Rangers were sort of galvanising. Big shout out to the fans as well. The Tav.
There it is, sorry.
Yeah, we'll play it now. Well, in fact, before we get on to it, we'll play what Tav has to say. So let's fire it up.
With the force of the stamp, but it's still the intent. The intent's obviously a boot on his head, so no matter if it's hard or soft, it's still his head. So that's obviously their job, but there's no excuses for us today, James.
There you go. So that is Tav on that incident with Austin Trusty. I was talking about the second half, Johnny. Rangers were a team reinvigorated. I don't know what Danny Rule said at half-time, but they gave it absolutely everything in that second half. The fans deserve great credit as well. I thought they were magnificent today. Eventually got their just rewards with that penalty and another refereeing flashpoint because Anthony Ralston, who was already on a yellow, diving to prevent the shot from Jedi Gassama reaching the goal. He leads with his elbow. Nick Walsh points to the spot. There is a check by VAR, but the decision stands. But therefore, why does he not receive a second yellow card? Thoughts on that one? Was he lucky to stay on the pitch?
Yeah, I mean, again, you have a look at what the discussion is on social media. I've not had a look at the IFAB rules and dug into this one in detail, but I did notice that the account that is run by the two former referees, the ref's view, were questioning why a yellow card wasn't delivered on this instant. It's a situation that once they decide that it is indeed a penalty, then surely it is a yellow card for blocking the ball. Incidentally, I do think it is a penalty because while Tony Ralston does have his arms quite close to his body, he throws his body down in an unnatural way, and he throws his body into a place that it shouldn't normally be in desperation to block the ball. And so he is being careless about where the ball hits him and hoping that it simply it hits him anywhere that is not his arm. So that to me is similar to when you dive in and you throw your hands up and it hits on your hands. It's there's no different. His elbow is slightly out. It comes off. It's below the t-shirt line. So it's definitely a yellow card and a penalty as far as I'm concerned. But I would say on that one, Derek, I'd like to have a wee look at the rules and just double check because there may be something in there that I'm not aware of. But I can say that the two refs, former Grade 1 referees, both asking the same question.
Well, never mind that. Michael Short was banging on for minutes after saying it shouldn't have been a penalty, which was doing my head in. But there you go. It was a clear penalty, of course. And Tav stepped up and composed finish right in the corner. And at that point, you're thinking Rangers can go on and win this game. Certainly the momentum was with them. But the tide sort of turned in the tail ends of the game, and it was Celtic pushing for a winning goal. And at that point, you're just thinking, get to full-time Rangers, and then you can regroup and sort of recharge it. Well, recharge it. They were out on their feet come the end of that. I think if the match had gone straight to penalties, that would have been the ideal situation. But it was just 30 minutes too much for this Rangers team, who were really struggling at the end. A change was made, incidentally, for extra time. Raskin taken off, Johnny, for Oliver Antman. Were you surprised at that? The only thing, I mean, he never had his best of games, Nico Raskin. He's been slightly off the boil, but I was slightly surprised at removing him at that point in time.
Yeah, Nico Raskin's not himself at the moment. There's no doubt. The last few games, and I would include today, I just didn't think he was really at the races, especially the first half. He looks like a guy with a lot on his mind. I'm not sure what's going on there, but what we can say is Nico Raskin, when he's at it, is up there with anything that's in Scotland, you know. And the last 3 or 4 Old Firm games of last season, Nico Raskin was pretty much the best player in almost every single one of them. And today, you just didn't feel like he was the guy that was taking the game by the scruff of the neck and imposing himself on it. So, from a Rangers point of view, you want to see more from a player of that quality, from Belgian international, who's alongside really, really, really top level players. In terms of him going off, I think what the manager was trying to do there was trying to fill the team with, I think, fresh legs and ball carriers, people that were capable of taking the ball up the pitch without having to necessarily pass it through, because it was quite congested in there and Celtic had an extra man. So when you saw that midfield lined up and it was Tavernier in the centre of midfield with Mikey Moore on one side and Oliver Antman on the other, it was an attacking move, and he was trying to take the game to Celtic. But that second goal just killed the momentum completely. And, you know, for me, Callum McGregor, it's a great hit, but I personally think you've got to see the goalie do more there. I don't want this to become a thing where we're like kind of piling up on Jack Butland, because he's been absolutely outstanding this season. Yeah. I thought he made great saves in the game. Brilliant save from an Osmond header, and not long after he makes this error. But for me, it's an error. I'll show you here. This is the point that Butland connects with the ball. The ball is in the middle of the goal. And no matter how hard he hits it, you've got to expect a keeper of Jack Butland's standard, I think, to make the save there. And I think he himself will be disappointed. I'm not a goalie coach, Derek, but I'll look at that and say, given that the ball is in the middle of the goal, why is he diving to get to the ball? You know, he's obviously been out of position when the shot is struck, or not been in quite the right position when the shot is struck to leave him in that position there. And while it's hit with real venom, any goalie that gets their fingers to a shot and it goes in, they're always going to be kicking themselves. And I think Jack, because he's got high standards, will be kicking himself. But Jack Butland's not the reason that Rangers lost this game. And there was players in front of him, and his view was unsighted. And I think, as you say, it even takes a nick off John Souttar. So
it does take a nick off him, yeah. And I don't know if that sort of made him sort of out of position somewhat. But as soon as McGregor hit it, I was like, oh, he's hit that well. And it was hit well, to be fair to him. But it's went through a ruck of bodies, and I think maybe he's expecting it to go wide. Wider than what it is.
To me, Derek, it's no surprise that a Scottish international who understands the club and captains the club steps up in big moments in games like these. And Callum McGregor's been doing that for a long time for Celtic. Rangers need someone like that in the team. And it's a mistake, but it's quite far down the list of reasons why Rangers lost this game, I would say.
Yeah, he's one of Rangers' top performers for me today, Jack. Kept them in the game at times, and that's where it helps when you've got a man advantage, of course, moments like that, when you've got spare men on the edge of the penalty area, unfortunately.
And
then Rangers,
Derek, let's be honest, right? Rangers improved in the second half defensively, and
couldn't fault him from the second half onwards.
Yeah, Cornelius, I think, was the best of the three defenders. But let's not say that this defence is anything to write home about because of that. It was enormously shaky in that first half. Giga, for me, I mean, that's quite surprising that he went for £10 million.
Well, yeah.
While he can shift for a big guy, he's got a mistake in him.
Yeah.
He's not the best at the basics. And I just think one of the things that Danny Rule has to do in the January transfer window, Derek, is go and find an experienced centre-half that can control these guys. Because you're not going to be able to go and get 3 centre-halves in the January transfer window, I don't think.
Yeah.
So you need to get someone who is capable of organising and marshalling in a similar way to what David Weir did back in the day when he came back in 2006 or 2007 for Rangers.
Yeah, him and Ehi again, didn't he?
Took control of defence, made the other guys look better. Rangers need someone like that, even if it's a short-term deal, because they're shaky. And John Souttar, I think, is having a poor season, particularly because I think he's been asked to be the defensive leader in there. And John Souttar, for me, is to just concentrate on his own game. He's a guy that needs to always be sharp because he has a mistake in him almost every game. He can stroll through games against weaker Scottish opposition and then suddenly have a brain fart out of nowhere. He sometimes gets away with it, but you never get away with it against Celtic. I just thought overall, defensively, especially first half, bit of a shambles. Second half improved, but still a long, long way to go. Now, Danny Rule may say, listen, this is my 4th game. See how we are in 12 games with this defence. I assure you it'll be a lot better. They'll be more used to the setup.
Yeah.
And that's true. But every great Rangers team, every great championship winning team, regardless if it's Rangers or someone else, from any club on the British Isles, always comes from the defence first and foremost.
Yeah.
It's that unit, that foundation, and for Rangers to be successful, they have to have that right. And it's a long way away from it, let's be honest. Yeah,
it was very shaky in that first half. Just on the defence, thought Cornelius had a decent game today. He is certainly someone that I would be looking to, if he can keep up a sort of form, I'd be looking to exercise that option to buy come the summer. But in terms of the rest of it, I think you need a right back, 2 centre-halves and a left back in January. Whether the Rangers can get those guys in that time it remains to be seen. It's notoriously a difficult window to trade because if you want a player that's in form, you need to pay over the odds for them, and usually it's just players that are not playing or out of form that you'll get.
I can't believe these people in the comments here having a go at James Tavernier after that game. Honestly, that's an example of there's just nothing that you can do after some people decide that they're not having you.
Yeah.
Thought Tavernier was led by example. This is a guy that's been surrounded by dross, let's be honest, for 10 years. He's not the problem. He's 34, so it's becoming increasingly more likely that he will eventually become the problem. But he's still one of the top 3 players on this side and has been for the totality of this season so far. The problem is the recruitment has not identified enough players that are as good as James Tavernier to actually come in and make a difference. I thought he is the last person I would be aiming any kind of criticism at today, and to give him criticism is just totally churlish.
Yeah.
People have to realise that the days of the Richard Gough style captain, those are over. You can't do that. You cannot do that with Gen Z kids. You can't. They'll just laugh at you. It's anyone who's out there in the world should know this. So yes, James Tavernier isn't like going to do the Terry Butcher thing with blood, dripping off him, and putting his head into challenges that he should be making with his feet, etc. He's not that kind of player. But I thought he really, really took responsibility in multiple positions today. Did he put a foot wrong? Maybe one wayward pass, I remember. But apart from that, I thought he stood tall, and I feel for him that he would be getting negative comments, because I don't think those are warranted based on today's performance.
No, absolutely not.
But 34 as well, by the way. 34.
No, he's only 34 the other day there. So, listen, he's not the biggest problem Rangers have at this point in time, far from it. So, as I mentioned earlier, I think forward areas and defence needs serious work. There's a big call as well I wanted to touch on when was. In fact, there's been somebody's two super chats, two kind donations. First of all, from Jordan, he says, "I thought we had the wrong approach to the opening 20 minutes, but fair play to the team for the effort after going down to 10. Just lack quality." Absolutely, Jordan.
That's it.
Yeah,
I think Jordan's nailed it there. I really do. That's the story of this game. Yes, there's refereeing issues, but I think Rangers' summer recruitment has come back to bite them, and it's just not good enough. And we will see what Danny Rule makes of it once he gets his own transfer window. I suspect we may see some of these players being shipped out, and I'll be amazed if some of them last beyond next summer. I'll be amazed.
Yeah.
You look at people, I named 4 of them: Rothwell, Giga, Aarons, Chermiti. Just don't see a Rangers player amongst those 4, Derek. And I remember saying in the summer, Rothwell, really? And people who had seen a lot more of him, especially in a Leeds shirt than me, were really positive about it and said, this is a guy that can come in and deliver something. And my feeling on it, I don't know if I spoke to you about it at the time, was you look at someone like Todd Cantwell, who's just an impossibly gifted player. Like Todd Cantwell, for all his flaws, a fantastic footballer. You know, there's question marks about, does he do it enough? Is he enough of a goal threat? Is his mentality right? But in terms of technical footballer, he's more than good enough. And I always felt, well, if Todd Cantwell, and a player of his gifts, struggles at Rangers or doesn't make the impact that you would expect him, it means the ceiling's really, really quite high for championship players. And I don't know what it is with Rothwell, Derek, but he doesn't look fit. He looks off the pace. I don't know if he just come up here and thought, I don't fancy this one little bit. Or maybe he's thinking this club's not for me, or...
I think it's difficult with the Russell Martin tenure because that was so disastrous that I think it's unfair at points to have a right go. But I get your point. He's looked physically off it. And to be fair, the whole team has looked physically off it. They looked unfit under Russell Martin. I'm not too sure what he was trying to do with them, but I think Danny Rule needs a proper pre-season. Unfortunately, we're well into the season, so he's not going to get that chance. But I agree with you. He came on, of course. There's a point that came in from a lad criticising the Ant-Man substitution as well and taking Nico Raskin off. And a big thank you to David, who's very kindly donated to the channel as well. Thank you, David. That's very kind of you. He says, I think Asgard has been so poor since arriving. Plays how I'd expect him to play in training. Far too casual for me. No intensity. Chermiti, don't start me. Rule must be getting told he has to play. So, we touched on Chermiti and Asgard. I was surprised actually he started because for me, it's a sort of game. I thought, I know you get some praise for the game at Ibrox for marking McGregor out of the game, but I want to see if you're spending £3.5 million on a guy at home, go and impose yourself on the game, go and show why you've been brought to the club in the first place. It shouldn't just all about be marking a Celtic player out the game. So I agree with you. I thought that the game passed him by up to the point where he gets sent off, and I want to see a lot more from him. For me, he flatters to deceive. He's someone that looks good when you're maybe 3-4-0 up and get him on the ball and might do something flashy, but he's not done enough to justify the outlay for me at this point in time.
I wonder if Asgard, Derek, if he was surrounded by hardened warriors, was a player that, this season they come in and they get maybe 15 to 20 goals and assists because they're surrounded by good players and who carries them through. He doesn't have to play every game, comes in and out. You see the talent there. That's what I'm getting at. You see the talent. But it's just like the glare and the focus of the expectation being on him in creative areas. He just doesn't look ready for that. He's been at Luton.
Told you before. I know folk down at Wigan. Folk down at Wigan. When the going gets tough, he's not a guy you want in your team, really. And that might be being brutally harsh on him, but as what it is, Rangers is, no disrespect to Wigan and Luton, a massive step up from that. And you've got a lot of the ball, go and show what you're all about. And just for me, just haven't seen anywhere near enough from him. Want to touch on this when we're mentioning refereeing calls, Johnny. David, a few others as well bringing it up. Dio got kicked in the chest. This was Maeda, Dyson Maeda, when he caught him in the chest going for the ball. It wasn't a studs to the chest, which is perhaps the reason why he was only shown a yellow by Nick Walsh and not a red. Should that have been a red for you, Johnny?
No, I don't think so. I think if a Rangers player got sent off for that, you'd be asking questions. It's not studs; it's the other part of the foot. It's a yellow card all day long, but not a red for me. I think you're better to. I know there's a lot of anger amongst the Rangers fans about the way the game's been refereed, but I think you're better to focus on the key moments that really did go against Rangers, and where there's a kind of there is an authority in the fact that people from all different backgrounds and all different kind of positions are coming out and saying, well, this was a poor decision, as in the case with Austin Trusty, rather than getting hit up. And there will be people getting hit up in the comments as I say this, or no, it was a definite red card. But I think if a Rangers player gets sent off for that same person is going to be absolutely raging. So it's not a red for me.
Yeah, I would tend to agree with you on that one. When I've seen it, even in when it slowed it up for the replay, I can get tensions are high and all that. But the two blatant ones were the Trusty for me, and Ralston perhaps fortunate to stay on the park as well. Scored a third, of course, in the second half of extra time as Rangers were chasing, and that was pretty much it. And like I said, you can't fault the effort levels from the players, just lacking quality. We all know it's devoid of quality in key areas, which needs to be addressed in January. That's a fact of the matter. We touched on it earlier. Blazing Blue says, so impressed with the fans at the match. They did everything to lift the players. Absolutely they did. And they were unfortunate to be on the losing side today. But there you go.
Sometimes in football, you have to take it on the chin and feel the pain of a defeat. And Rangers fans have been doing that for quite a long time, Derek. Unfortunately, the way that the last few seasons have gone has been undoubtedly, not the way that the club would have wanted it to go after the highs of the 55th title and then the Europa League final. But until we get on top of bringing in better players, I honestly think that's the core of everything. Then these situations will keep happening. The one sort of chink of light, I think, is that what we've seen from this manager so far, I think, is he's quite a good fit in terms of the DNA. We talked about it a lot with Russell Martin. He showed today that he was able to take a game that was looking really difficult, 10 men in an Old Firm game, 1-0 down, the momentum against you, and he was able to shift that with a squad that I think everyone that's watching this, and we both agree, is nowhere near where it should be. So that to me shows that they've got a capable manager, a manager who has already shown in the way he's handled the media and the way he's handled all the banana skins that Russell Martin kept slipping over and landing on his head. It shows to me that this is a guy that's got some substance about him. Now, what Rangers have to do is make that pay by actually backing him in the January transfer window with players that can actually handle this league and can handle playing for this club. And that's the core of all this. Good players who can cope with the challenges that Rangers face. So many people I speak to, Derek, so many people that I've discussed this with, for example, said Lawrence Shankland, not good enough for Rangers. Not good enough for Rangers, right? And sometimes I think there's like almost like people overthink what you require to be a Rangers player in this league. Lawrence Shankland might not be a guy that would go to the Championship in England and tear it up. He might not do as well as Rothwell, but he absolutely gets the idiosyncrasies in the Scottish environment. I think Rangers need a few more players that can absolutely just deal with the bread and butter.
And also, he'd have bunged one of those home in the first half that Chermiti passed up. Fact.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking about a guy who, I think through Andrew Kavanagh's own admission, that he's not ready right now. That was acknowledged. We're buying this guy for what he can be, not what he is right now.
Yeah.
But tell Rangers fans that you've got a guy up front who is not there yet, but is playing in Old Firm games.
So what he can. So this is what I mean. So what he can be. So send him out on loan, bring in a striker that's ready for right now. Go and get him up to speed with the game, then bring him back, and then start him. You can't be starting him in games like this and expecting to bust the net and score goals. This is what rankles with me. Rangers aren't a development club; they're a winning right now club, and there's too many players that are for next year or the year beyond. So yeah, it's an issue with recruitment. We can always go back to recruitment on this, and it needs addressed. And I slightly concerned Kevin Thelwell at the helm, if he's able to identify players that Rangers require to change the narrative here and to get them back on top. That is
one thing's for certain, Derek, and I say this with absolute certainty and no fear of it being wrong. The squad as it stands is nowhere near good enough. There's been mistakes made in quite a profound way in this summer. There is zero argument that I can see that suggests that this is going to be a team that has taken the gargantuan strides it needs to take by the time we get to the April, sort of March, April time to suggest that Rangers could be in contention for a league title in the Scottish Cup. But I'd be very, very surprised at that based on the quality that's there, unless they significantly back the manager. And I think to significantly back the manager, they need to accept that some of these guys have not been good enough. Some of these transfers haven't worked out. And I think some of them will have to be heading back to whence they came or to be moved on. And that might be painful. That might involve taking the odd skinning on some of these deals. But
yeah,
we're talking about a Rangers side that is, I would say, probably likely at this point in time to come third in the league based on the quality of the squads that the other two title contenders have. And that's unthinkable. I mean, it's unthinkable that Hearts would be able to, in one summer of Tony Bloom, come in and completely tip Scottish football on its axis. But that's what they've done. And they've only been able to do that because of such poor performance in the player recruitment arena from Rangers. And I think, Derek, that's so important that focus doesn't come off that, because the referee stuff is going to be a sideshow now and everyone's going to talk about it. And rightly so, these things should be discussed. But if we're talking about the real problems underlying Rangers, why they are so far adrift of the title race, why they're now out of a League Cup against a Celtic team that have got major problems, it's hard to escape the notion that in the summer, serious errors were made. And Rangers are now paying the cost of that.
Scott B depressingly sums it up. It says we only have the Scottish Cup to play for. The season start has been nothing short of calamitous. The Russell Martin experiment should have ended earlier than it did. So it's a salvage operation now. If Danny Rule can get this team within some sort of realistic touching distance to the top two come the January transfer window, then he'll have done a great job. But that is I've seen in the last week, I think I've seen enough from him that I think Rangers are in safe hands on a coaching level. It's just recruitment again that I touched on that I'm worried about if he does have a big say in that, and whether Rangers, the footballing department, the guys that Kevin Thelwell has entrusted to bring in to support him, know what is required at Ibrox. Incidentally, Danny Rule has been speaking in that press conference is available to watch on the YouTube channel. I'll just give you, just on the flashpoints, folks, on Trusty sending off. He was asked, should he have been sent off? I think we can now speak about all the single situations and decisions in doing the game, but it's not my part. I will not speak about this. Should Ralston have received a second yellow? I think there's also, if a handball and there's a block and there's a penalty, it could be a yellow card, but honestly, there are so many rules about the handball in the box. I don't know everything. For me, it's what we did today to show this big character. It's outstanding. And I think we should never speak again of the mentality at the moment about the team, because today the team showed how big this part of our game is. And any complaints over the Asgard red card, he was asked. Didn't watch the red card now back, but I think it's the refs, not my part to speak about this. I said this before the game, that my focus is always on myself. I speak not about the manager or the other team or the refs. My focus is really on ourselves. And from this part, I saw a team who made huge steps forward in the last 7 or 8 days, what we put into it. But of course, we have other parts we have to improve. And this is my job during the week. So there you go. You can watch that in full over on the YouTube channel. If you are watching, incidentally, folks, hit that like button if you are one of the fans of the other team across the city who've tuned in. I know that many of you tuning into this show, weirdly, but there you go. Hit that like button as well. It helps the channel out. But big match coming up for Rangers on Thursday. For me, the Europa League, if Rangers fail to get anything from Roma, and I mean a win, I don't think a draw is any good at this point, then forget it, Johnny. Do you agree?
Yeah, and it's such a hard ask that, we know Roma are even a bad Roma team, even a kind of Roma team that's...
Well, they lost to Bolton last time out, so the Rangers may be having a chance in that game. Bit of a coupon buster, that one. So, they have been going great guns in Serie A.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was about to say, mate. We're talking about a team that is 1 point off the top in Serie A. We know Inter have got a really good squad and spend a lot of money. We know Napoli... Kevin De Bruyne, Scott McTominay, Billy Gilmore. That's the levels in Napoli. So they must have a bit about them. So I think it's going to be a really big ask, the way Rangers are at the moment, the squad Rangers have got. But do you know what? From what I've seen tonight, I think one thing Danny Rule will continue to do is have the team organised and set up in a way that will make it difficult for Roma. You didn't have that under Russell Martin. He wasn't capable of that, or
that gives me belief that he can do something. I think I call this will be his proper first European game. I'm not giving them the brand game. I think that it would be harsh to criticise him in that game. But I've got a slight bit of optimism, I've got to say. I don't know where that's come from, but at Ibrox, perhaps a new era in Europe under the lights.
Derek, one thing that I'm seeing a lot in the comments, which I think is worth kind of drilling into detail, I think it is a good point, is talking about Finlay Curtis, Lyle Cameron, Barami. For me, Barami, I think delivers more than Tel Asgard. We're talking about Barami last season.
Quality,
he was.
Yep.
I think he scored goals against Celtic. He delivered big performances against Celtic. Did he do enough? Has he done enough? No. But if we're talking about one or the other, a zero-sum game, then absolutely would say that Barami would be entitled to feel a bit nose out of joint in terms of not being asked to give an option. In terms of Finlay Curtis, I mean, what more can the kid do other than what he's done? And that's another one I think is quite a challenge. I think that he's proven over the course of this season so far that he's one of the best finishers at the club. So when there's a struggle for goals, he's someone that you would think should be given an opportunity. Lyle Cameron, I thought he started really well and then went off the boil. I don't know what's going on there. Maybe he needs a little bit more time for the manager to have a look at him to get a sense of what he's got. Clearly, he's quite far down the pecking order, given what happened today, given who was played in there.
I don't think, Johnny. I don't think had he not signed that pre-contract, I don't think that's I don't think that's someone that Farewell and Co would have targeted.
No, I agree. I think if they could have nixed that, they probably would have. But I may be wrong on that, Derek. But that's
I like him, incidentally, and I would like to see more of him, to be honest with you. And I think today Rangers missed Connor Barron also in the midfield. I thought he was excellent against Hibs, and they missed that sort of industry in there. Nothing against Mohamed Diamande. I thought it was okay, but I would have started Connor Barron today, no question about it. Incidentally, there's a comment coming in from Scott. He says Moore was terrific when he came. He actually was pretty decent when he came on. He's shown flashes in the last 2 games. I think that there is something about him. So more of that, please. And big thank you to David. He's actually donated again. Thank you, David. That's very kind. I have to trust Thelwell to rebuild his own rebuild. Yeah, that is a concern of not only you, David, but many others involved with Rangers at this point in time. But there you go. Right, I think we'll wrap up there for now. I think we've covered all bases there. Of course, we will discuss the game again tomorrow morning at 9:30, folks. We hope you can join us for that. I think Joshua and they're full squad yet there at Hampden. So Joshua and Stevie are recording a video at Hampden for us as well, folks. So they were at the game, so they watched the events unfold. So you keep your eyes peeled for that. And just another gripe of mine. We're watching the game on Premier Sports, referring to the game as the Glasgow Derby. Something I would expect on perhaps Celtic TV, but I was a bit surprised at referring to the game as that. It's not something you would maybe hear on a broadcaster like that, but that was maybe just me. But there you go. Right, that will do us there. A big thank you to Jonny and to you all for tuning in to the show. Thank you for your support, incidentally, folks. It's much appreciated. And I was going to say go and enjoy your Sunday, but it's pretty difficult after that. I think St Mirren can pull off a shock in the final, Jonny.
Do you know what? I think they can. I think they can. Do I think it's likely? Look, Celtic are poor. They are poor.
Yeah.
And St Mirren are a side that's capable of turning over anyone. You saw Hearts go there and really struggle in Paisley earlier on last week. Or earlier on this week, should I say. It was midweek. And I think Celtic will be tested by them. So they have a chance, and it'll be interesting to see how that pans out. But I think Celtic will throw money at the window coming up, and they will be aware that they need to do more. Yeah. So it's up to Rangers to obviously do the same and kind of match that ambition, because there needs to be something added. Danny Rule cannot be expected to continue to spin magic out of this squad. It's just not there. There's too many problems with it. There's not enough experience in there. There's not enough grey hairs. There's not enough organisational power. And I think up top, problems. At the back, problems. These are issues that need to be solved and fast.
Totally. Right, folks. Enjoy whatever you're doing this evening, whatever you are up to, and we shall chat again tomorrow morning at 9:30. Bye for now.